Now at 5 and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, a 3-month-old infant was pronounced dead after police say he was left inside a hot car in Houston.
An undercover officer in Dallas recovering after he was shot during a carjacking. Police are looking for at least 3 suspects.
And an apartment building was completely destroyed after a fire broke out in Cedar Park, a suburb of Austin.
Well, we have a high fire danger all over Texas, including some of the crossroads. The temperatures again are on the ridiculous side. 100 for us, but 107 in Gonzales. We'll be talking about the heat coming up in a moment.
Students in the Victoria ISD return to the classroom today. The Calhoun County ISD starts next Monday. You're watching 25 News Now at 5. Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us. I'm James Munoz.
And I'm Karina Garcia.
Houston police say a 3-month-old baby boy died Tuesday after the newborn's mother left him in a hot car. Authorities say the mother and a 4-year-old child were visiting a mental health center. After the visit, the mother was getting ready to drive away when she found her baby still in the car. It was too late. There was nothing anyone could do.
At approximately 3:25, HPD received a call about meeting the firefighters at this location. A minute later, our officers arrived to this location and they learned that there was a 3-month-old male infant who was not responsive. The child or the infant was later transported to one of our local area hospital where he was pronounced deceased.
Police are investigating how long the baby was left inside the car. It's unclear if police will file charges.
Dallas police are looking for 3 subjects involved in shooting an undercover officer. Police say they approached his car just after midnight and a shootout ensued. They say the suspects drove off in the officer's vehicle, which law enforcement later recovered nearby. The officer is now out of the hospital after receiving treatment. Reports say he was shot 1 time. He's part of the Northwest Crime Response Team.
Wharton police say Jalen Daquan Davis is wanted on charges of evading arrest, unlawful possession, deadly conduct discharge of a firearm, and possession of marijuana. A 5th charge was added for unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. If you know his whereabouts, Wharton police want to hear from you.
Mexico's top diplomat is visiting Washington, D.C. today. Secretary of Foreign Relations Alicia Valencia is scheduled to meet with U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, as well as other leaders. They will likely discuss the fight against fentanyl and the trafficking of firearms. The floating border barrier deployed by Texas is also expected to be a main topic of conversation. Mexico recently complained about them and asked for their removal. Now, the National Weather Service issues excessive heat warnings for area counties. DeWitt and Lavaca counties under excessive heat warnings until 9 o'clock tonight. The National Weather Service says temperatures up to 108 degrees are expected.
Karina, I'm not certain, but I think when I turn on my cold water, it's warm. Mac, is that
It's
happening?
possible, I'd say.
It happens because the water lines are through the ground and the dirt's getting warm as well. So this is all part of the warming trend for the entire state. Right now for us, we're at 97 after getting up to 100 this afternoon. But the big thing is that we have red flag warnings for much of the state, and we'll be talking more about that. And we've got a huge fire in Maui, Hawaii, that is really tragic. We'll talk about that coming up in a moment. Back to you.
Mac, thank you so much. We want to know how your first day at school went. On our Facebook page, Crossroads Today, you can share your child's photos of their first day back in the classroom in the comments section. Also at Crossroads Today, catch up on all the information you need to know about preparations for going back to school under your Back to School Resource tab at the top of our homepage. The Cuero ISD also started classes today, and we hope those classes went well for everyone.
Yeah, one middle school starts off on the right foot with a pep rally. 6th, 7th, and 8th graders at STEM Middle School filled the gym, and this summer was spent upgrading STEM Middle School. It's now outfitted with a STEM lab and other technologies to offer students an education focused on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Campus Principal Denise Moreno welcomed students back, and retired educator Brother Gary Moses was, of course, there.
This is the first year that our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are returning as STEM middle school. Last year, 6th and 7th graders were STEM middle school and our 8th graders were Stroman middle school. The two have collaborated, and the entire campus now is STEM middle school, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We're super excited that our students are here, and this is just a big celebration to celebrate them and celebrate the accomplishments that they've made and them returning back to school. We are very excited to have them here.
I love to see everybody get off to a great start, and that's what we're here for today. Get them motivated, get them off to the right start, get into school, enjoy it, and that's what it's all about, learning.
STEM Middle School has an enrollment of about 700 students. Each student gets their own Chromebook laptop to use for their schoolwork. Students also have access to engravers and 3D printers in the STEM lab.
The University of Houston at Victoria already in motion with the back-to-school season. This year, they're preparing for their 50th anniversary, seeing as they're the only four-year institution accessible for 100 miles in any direction. This year's celebration is going to be a big one. The university plans on commemorating the scholars and educators who paved the way for UHV today. And one of the many goals of UHV is to also prepare students for jobs in the Crossroads area.
We'll also be looking, as we have been for some time now, at pivoting our academic inventory towards the sciences to fit the needs of area employers like Dow and Vista and Formosa and others.
President Glenn Bob also mentions that UHV strives to elevate the region through education. Fall semester is set to begin Monday, August 28th. And so here is your beer poll this afternoon. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, what is your student looking forward to? Is it reuniting with friends, new school supplies, new outfits, exploring new classes, learning new subjects, or new clubs and activities? Which one was yours, James?
Gosh, I wish I could say it was reuniting with friends, but I was always quiet. So it would be learning a new subject, which is still 0%. How about yours?
I'm going to be a little bit shallow with this one, but it was the new outfits, the new shoes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's in third place. So it
Fair. We'll keep on voting because we want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to participate, and we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 6.
An apartment building was destroyed when a fire broke out in Cedar Park, a suburb of Austin, Tuesday night. Authorities say some residents will be displaced as a result of that fire. Right now, the fire is still not contained and has burned at least 120 acres. Residents at the apartment complex and nearby businesses were evacuated. The blaze originally began as a structure fire and then moved to the grass. Authorities say one apartment building is a total loss and 2 others are damaged.
That started initially as a structure fire and has spread to a grass fire, that our firefighters are still out there working tirelessly to protect our community.
The cause of the fire is under investigation. 1 minor injury was reported.
Republican commissioners in Galveston are facing a lawsuit.
They're accused of gerrymandering the county's precinct map to dilute the votes of blacks and Latinos.
Mary Patrick lives in Lamarck, an area she's called home for 40 years. She's always felt like her vote mattered in Precinct 3 until she saw how the county precinct map was redrawn in November 2021.
It's no longer a minority-based district. That district where Commissioner Holmes was the commissioner at, he was an advocate, a servant for that precinct.
Here's a look at the map before it was redrawn. You can see that Precinct 3 previously stretched down the central and southeast parts of the county. But following the 2020 census, its boundaries changed to more of the northwest side of the county to include more residents who tend to vote for GOP candidates. This prompted the lawsuit brought forth by several organizations, including the Texas Civil Rights Project, alleging the new map discriminates against the county's voters of color by splitting up the most diverse precinct.
What we're hearing in court throughout the next 2 weeks, all about how this is impacting the community members themselves, how they had a representative who looked out for them, represented their interests, voted in line with their interests, and now they have no voice.
The county did not respond to our request for comment, but Professor Mark Jones, who teaches political science at Rice University, explains how the county's attorneys are defending the new map. Gonzalez says they are racing against the clock to get a favorable ruling in this case because Holmes has until December of this year to file for re-election. But whether it's enough time for plaintiffs to get the map that they want, Jones says it's going to be a close call.
The defense's argument is that this has nothing to do about race or ethnicity, and it's all about partisanship. And what they're engaged in here is a partisan gerrymander, turning 3 Republican districts and 1 Democratic district into 4 Republican districts. And the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that partisan gerrymandering is constitutional.
The case is the first major trial since a Supreme Court ruling on a key clause of the act in June. The trial is expected to continue into next week.
State lawmakers joined Governor Abbott in New Caney this afternoon as he signed the largest property tax cut bill in state history. Abbott made cutting property taxes an emergency item for the 88th legislature, and lawmakers passed the bill during the second special session. Leaders say the government surplus money will fund the $18 billion in tax cuts, and voters will decide on the proposed constitutional amendment during the November 7th election.
4 Texas congressmen sent a letter urging the U.S. Postal Service to better safeguard postal carriers. KIII reports the congressmen are calling on them to make a plan that allows letter carriers to take breaks from the hot weather, have access to cold water without having to buy it themselves, and avoid penalties in the event they have to visit a store or return to a U.S. Postal Service station to pick up water. A 66-year-old letter carrier in Dallas died during his route on a day when the heat index topped 110 degrees.
Special counsel Jack Smith's team obtained a search warrant in January for records related to former President Trump's Twitter account. Twitter, now known as X, was fined $350,000 for a delay in complying. The details were included in a decision from the Federal Appeals Court in Washington rejecting Twitter's claim it should not be held in contempt or sanctioned. The filing says the court found probable cause to search the Twitter account for evidence of criminal offenses. The filing said Twitter has now produced the records and they are now public.
Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. Camp Calhoun Extreme Learning Program returns to Calhoun County ISD, and a new follow-on contract was signed between the U.S. Department of Defense and Lena's USA for a new rare earths facility in Seadrift. And the Seadrift City Council began its budget process for the upcoming fiscal year on August 1st. You can read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com.
Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Straight ahead on 25 News Now at 5, 41 migrants were reported dead last week in the latest shipwreck in the Mediterranean Sea.
Also ahead, deadly wildfires are blazing through parts of Hawaii. We have those details straight ahead. At least 41 people are believed to have died in a migrant shipwreck near an Italian island last week. It comes amid a spike in the number of migrants making the treacherous journey from North Africa to Europe. The Red Cross spoke to some survivors who say the boat disembarked several days ago. The Italian government says so far this year, more than 93,000 people have arrived in Italy by boat. That's more than double the number over the same period in the previous year. Western allies have received an increasingly sobering assessment about Ukraine's ability to retake significant territory. They say it's unlikely Ukraine will be able to change the balance of the conflict. One of the biggest challenges is breaking through Russia's defense lines in the south and in the east. There are tens of thousands of mines there and a vast network of trenches. Ukrainian forces have faced staggering losses, but they continue to try and push forward. The wildfires burning in parts of the Hawaiian island of Maui have killed at least 6 people. Authorities announced that today. The mayor of West Maui said in a news conference that there were also 13 evacuations for the 3 fires. At least 24 people were hurt by the fires, including several who were flown for treatment in Honolulu.
In health news, global health leaders say immunization numbers are rising.
However, around the world, there are still millions of children missing out on vaccines that could potentially save their lives. U.S. health experts are urging people of all ages to roll up their sleeves and protect themselves.
It's a way to protect your health and guard against getting others sick.
Immunizations protect against severe disease and illness, disability, and even death.
Dr. Neha Vietz with Cleveland Clinic says for adults, routine vaccinations include a tetanus shot, shingles vaccines for those over 50 or immunocompromised. The CDC recommends 2 doses separated by 2 to 6 months. A vaccine protecting against pneumonia, along with an annual fall flu shot. She says to also make sure you're up to date on your COVID-19 vaccinations.
And a new one called the RSV vaccine, which is respiratory syncytial virus, and it's for adults ages 60 years and older.
For children, Via says routine vaccinations also include tetanus, pneumonia, flu, and being up to date on COVID-19 boosters. She says meningococcal vaccines and the vaccine to protect against the human papillomavirus should also be given.
Children have a very strong immune response, so the younger they are, the more they can develop a healthy immune response.
There are also simple steps you can take to stay healthy beyond vaccines.
Proper hand washing techniques, staying home when you're sick, and also don't forget to wear masks if you're around crowded areas and you're not feeling well.
For Health Minute, I'm Andy Gaither.
There is a new COVID-19 variant on the rise. The CDC says the EG5 variant is accounting for about 17% of new COVID-19 cases in the U.S. Scientists believe it's slightly more resistant to the antibodies many people have. New vaccines coming out soon are thought to boost immunity against it. Researchers believe the reports of new cases rising is due to people spending more time inside to escape the heat and children going to school. There's no proof the new variant is more contagious.
Here's some of the top headlines you can read in the Cuero Record. Local business leaders discuss challenges with Congressman Michael Cloud. And the Cuero ISD Education Foundation distributes over $20,000 to support teachers and students. Plus, Cuero High School cheerleaders win several awards at summer camp. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, the triple digits. Once again, we made it up to 100 degrees. Look at that, 107 in Gonzales, and that means the areas west were even warmer than that. Coming up, we'll be talking about what to expect and the fact that most of Texas is under a high fire danger. We're going to talk about how dangerous that is coming up in a moment. Back, everybody. Obviously, the heat continues, but now, boy, I tell you, it's really taking its toll on pretty much everybody in the Northern Hemisphere. I mean, get a load of these temperatures. They're about 2 degrees warmer than yesterday. These are the forecast highs for tomorrow. So, you know, we're still looking at triple digits for us in the entire state of Texas. One of the big concerns now is that things are drying out, okay? And as grasses dry out, fields dry out, it gets pretty dangerous in terms of fire danger. We had some big storms that rolled through Little Rock, Arkansas, and you see it right about there, but everything is going to be north of the ridge of high pressure that's on top of us, keeping us, shall we say, high and dry. They're getting pretty soggy up there with the rain coming through. It's actually rather stormy. But this is the red flag warning, so all of these counties, I mean, it's not Victoria County, but everybody around us is under a high fire danger. And of course, you know, you've got the heat, you've got the low humidity, you've got desiccated ranges. A lot of pastures are now dry as well. So we need to be very cautious because anything that takes off is going to be hard to control. And you can see how everything from the Red River all the way down to Laredo are in that very dangerous situation. So if you're traveling over the weekend or if you got interests out there, you know, cattle, farmland, whatever, just be very cautious with that. The dome of doom that we've been sort of playing around with is still on top of not only us, but Florida, Texas, all the way to the southwest. All of us are pretty much in that high heat. Now, over the next couple of days, we're going to see a little easterly wave develop to the south of the ridge. Let me show you right about here. It starts to form, and it's going to roll under it with some moisture that's going to head generally to Mexico. But with a little luck, we'll get some of that moisture. You see it right here beginning to show up along the Texas coast, and with a little luck, we'll get some of that. Now, a while ago, we talked about Dora the hurricane. Dora the hurricane began over here off the coast of Mexico, has been alive for over a week and a half now. It continues out in the mid-Pacific. We haven't talked about it because it's not really bothering anybody. Well, that was until now. It is still a Category 4 storm, and here's the Hawaiian Islands. High pressure here, low pressure here, strong northerly winds probably in the 60 to 70 mile an hour range, ranged across the Hawaiian Islands. And the net result was a huge fire. We also have Canoon, that has been wandering around for 2 weeks now, still in effect, and is going to be going right over South Korea. But the next one is what I wanted to get to you. This is Lahaina Harbor, which is on the island of Maui. The winds kicked up a fire. It looks like the entire village has gone up in flames. And this is really sad. I mean, there weren't enough assets to fight it because it's a small island. A lot of it is wooden. It's generally a paradise. People were jumping onto boats in the harbor trying to get away from the flames because they spread so fast. They're saying that Lahaina is no longer there. So it's going to be a very sad story for years to come to rebuild Lahaina, which all the way to the harbors, the wharfs were burned down as well. So it's just an amazing story. Well, back to our coastal areas, looking at the day planner for Port Lavaca. Get up to 96 tomorrow, lots of sun, no real change, maybe a little morning cloud cover. Inland areas still continue on the hot side, 103 for Cuero, and all of us will be dealing with 100-degree temperatures right on through this weekend. It's not till about Monday they will start picking up a little 20%, so let's just be optimistic and hope we get something out of that. That's your 7-day forecast. We also have a QR code. We'd like for you to scan that and put Crossroads Today on your cell phone. We'll be back with more, but first, here's James and Karina.
All right, Mac, thank you so much. Coming up next on 25 News Now at 5, we'll take a look at Wall Street. Plus, in business news, the World Bank suspends new loans to Uganda over their anti-LGBTQ laws. Let's take a look at your stocks. The Dow down 191 points, the S&P 500 losing 32 points, and the NASDAQ off 162 points. Oil up $1.48, closing at $84.40 a barrel.
The World Bank is suspending new loans to Uganda and pausing project financing over the country's controversial anti-LGBTQ+ laws. The bank said in a statement Uganda's Anti-Homosexuality Act fundamentally contradicts the World Bank Group's values. The law in Uganda bans gay marriage, punishes same-sex acts with life imprisonment, and calls for the death penalty for aggravated homosexuality. It criminalizes other same-sex conduct as well. Reports say that Uganda dismissed the move as unjust and hypocritical. Stay with us. We'll take one last look at your forecast. Plus, the writer's strike reaches its 100th day with no end in sight.
$100 days, and it doesn't look like there's an end in sight. Friday, writers and studios failed to reach an agreement on resuming negotiations. The union is seeking better pay, improved residual payments, and protections against the rising use of artificial intelligence. Networks are gearing up for the fall season, but ratings and ad revenue could see a slump. With the lack of new and returning series, major studios have said they're saving big money in the short term with most production on hold. That's unfortunate.
Jeez.
It really is, and it's one for the lifetimes. I mean, you can't have a movie without writers, directors, and actors, but the executives want to make them without writers, executives, and actors. So I don't know. It's one of those. How do you make money without using people?
Yeah.
You're all looking for it.
We'll figure out a way.
It's a very big topic, you know.
Hot
very
topic, just like this hot weather.
Hot topic. Is that the cue?
Yeah, that was your cue.
Well, the cue is, yeah, it's hot and it's going to stay like that. We are all under this dome of doom. There's no real change in our temperatures. I mentioned earlier that I do expect it to be sometime mid-September before we finally break the heat. So we've got 4 more weeks of this to deal with. Whatever you're doing right now, that's what you got to keep doing to stay cool. Of course, we need to save energy. We need to save electricity. We need to save water. What else do we need to save?
Money.
Our wits. Well, money, because I hate to see the utility bills coming in for next month, because it's the problem.
Yeah. All right, Mac. Well, thanks for always keeping us updated. Thank you for being with us.
We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with David Muir is up next.